In keeping with some of the American holiday gimmicks, today we are going to be looking at our Black Friday deals in Deadlock. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and what I really mean here is today we're going to go through each item category, so tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, of each kind of item, so weapon, vitality, then spirit, and I'm going to rank what I think to be is the best value item in each category. So what's the best deal for 800 souls for weapon item, going down the line for those kinds of things. And then in each category, so in weapon, vitality, and spirit, I'm going to give like a super saver deal, like your TV at Walmart thing that you run over people for. Basically what I think to be like the super mega value best items in Deadlock. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so like I said, we're just going to start off here in the weapons tab, and we'll start with the 800 cost items. A lot of good ones here, a lot of like arguably very core items for a lot of builds, but I can't go against the value that you get in monster rounds. I'm covering up some of what it does with my big fat head, but basically, this is plus 25% weapon damage versus NPCs, plus 25% bullet resist versus NPCs, and 1 out of combat regen. That number has been nerfed so many times, but a lot of the value you get here is it helps you clear waves faster in lane, which right now in the game is really good. It's good to be aggressive in Deadlock right now, and it builds into an item in Cult of Sacrifice that is also just a great value item at 3,200. So for me, without a doubt, it's monster rounds for 800 in the weapon section. Next up, moving over to 1600, we obviously have a lot more options here, and there's a few that I really considered as good shouts here, like Titanic Magazine is almost always a good purchase. And by the way, like these 1600 cost ones, we have to think now with the new way that souls work, where you get this kind of bonus here at 4.8k, that means you need a tier 3 and a tier 2 item. So there's different ways to do that. You could do 2 tier 1s and a tier 3, and obviously there's a lot of different combinations of ways you can get to that number, but 4.8k is now a specific number from a tier 2 and a tier 3. So we have to think about like these items, it by themselves feel like they're worth more all of a sudden. So my choice here though is actually active reload. This is an item that I personally hate using. I really am not a fan of like doing the active reload minigame whenever I'm in the middle of playing, but the stats you get from this are just really, really strong. It's 20% max ammo, obviously much less than you get from a Titanic Mag, but the things you get in the passive, which can proc every 12 seconds, the 7-second duration that it lasts, you get 18% bullet lifesteal and 25% fire rate. I feel like a lot of people sleep on this item, and I think Quicksilver Reload is usually where I tend to go if I want something like this, like on a Warden or a Haze or something like that. But in any case, active reload, a great pick here. My Black Friday deal for 1600 cost items in the weapon tab. All right, now we get to our first Black Friday Mega Millions super value deal item. I really like this item. I think it's incredibly slept on. I've always felt this way about it, and kind of regardless of nerfs or buffs, I feel like this item has a ton of value in Deadlock almost at any point if you use it the right way, and that's Heroic Aura. I know I'm on McGinnis here, and so it's especially good on McGinnis, but I think this item honestly has a ton of value if you want to angle any kind of support in your game, and it's a great way, again, to that point that we made earlier about how Metro had a great build in this recently. This is a huge sentiment in the community right now that flex builds are a really good way to go because of the spike you get. If you're not playing a gun character and maybe you're playing like a support Page or maybe like a supporty Kelvin or a Viscus or something, then Heroic Aura can be a great item for you to help the entire team by a pretty massive amount and get 3.2k towards your weapon. That way you can still be dealing a lot more damage with your weapon in the meantime. So just so much value here. You get a little bit of sprint speed. You get obviously the passive, you just are providing bullet resist to nearby allies. That's a majorly slept on part of this item as well. And then the active giving you move speed and 30% fire rate for 7 seconds in a 30-meter active radius. Feels like there's just so much this item does. Huge Heroic Aura fan. I think way more people should buy it. One of my Black Friday deals for Deadlock and my first mega huge value Walmart trample deals in Deadlock. All right, then moving over to 6,400, a lot of good items here. I think a lot you could easily make the case for. I think the 6,400 choice is always going to be the hardest one for me in this when I do this video. But I think Glass Cannon has to be it. I think what this item does, and in particular the builds it allows you to enable with Lucky Shot and some other things, is just really crazy. I mean, 80% weapon damage on an item just by itself is just unbelievable. I know you lose a little bit of health, but like it also has the ability to stack for fire rate if you are not dying, which a lot of times you can manage this KD ratio kind of thing and get positive stacks here pretty easily. But Glass Cannon, like I said, in particular for what it allows you to do with some of the other gun items, is my pick here. It just feels like it could easily be a part of just about any weapon build where you're really scaling into weapon. So Glass Cannon for me is an easy pick here, but let's move over to Vitality and see what our Black Friday deals there are. All right, starting off with Vitality 800. This is actually low-key one of the hardest choices I've had to make in the video. I sat here for like several minutes like, man, which is it? And I'm really between extra regen and healing right for this. Both feel like very timeless items in like kind of the Deadlock buyer's meta. I feel like some of these other ones are great too. Like health can be situationally great. Stamina is a really good shout, probably like my third ranked one here. I'm just not seeing it for some of the rest, but I'm actually going to go with extra regen here. I think the 3 regen building into healing items is just so valuable. And right now, like I said, in Deadlock, early in lane, you want to be able to kind of stay foot on the gas pedal for as long as you can. And the healing minions are going to give you those big bursts of healing. So really what you just need, in my opinion, is just passive regen to keep you up at a moderate level. But that being said, if you get a little bit too low, you can leave one time with healing right, catch a medic minion, and now all of a sudden you're just back in the fight. So both kind of achieving the same means, or a different means to the same end, where we just want to stay aggressive, we want to stay pushing. I'll give it to extra regen here, but healing right, very honorable mention for a great Black Friday deal in Deadlock. All right, and our second absolute Mega Millions deal at the Deadlock Black Friday sale is actually going to be Enduring Speed. So this category, 1600 for Vitality, has a lot of good items. I feel like this is one of the categories in the game with kind of the most competitive pool, because you can make the case for buying so many of these items in any single game, because with Vitality items, you have to think, like, even if you're a gun or a spirit character, you still need a little bit of green, right? Still need some green in your life. And I feel like Enduring Speed is just this, I don't know, it's a packed item that every single hero in Deadlock can benefit from. And it's one of those items where if you don't know what to do with a green item spot, but you need to spend 1.6k, this is just uniformly beneficial. It doesn't rely on what the other team's doing, so you're not like thinking about buying like a weapon or spirit shielding or a reactive barrier or something to try and counter what the enemy team's doing. It's purely about what you're trying to do, and that is move around the map faster and resist any move penalties, right? The 30% move slow resist is something people really forget about with this item, I feel, but because people just think about it as like zooming around the map, maybe building into Juggernaut. But in any case, I feel like this item, I try to buy it in as many games as I can. Going back to that point I made about the 4.k soul investment right now and getting you to that checkpoint, if I have, like, let's say I have a Majestic Leap with Warden, or maybe a Fortitude, or hell, maybe I went Trophy Collector early game, I think Enduring Speed as a second item could be really beneficial. You could make a lot of points. I mean, this, like I said, this section really has some of what I think to be the best value items in the game. I would give several awards to this section if I wasn't doing kind of like one per. But in any case, what I have so far is Enduring Speed, but I could have given a lot of other shouts here. I mean, Debuff Reducer, great. Reactive Barrier, great. I'm a big fan of Resto Locket, personally. And Healbane, I mean, there's a lot of good items in that section. But Enduring Speed is my pick. Let's keep it going. All right, and it feels like this section kind of has a similar vibe. I mean, there's a lot of kind of counter pick items in this section, so things that you buy to shut down something that, you know, another player is doing. For example, like a metal skin. We haven't talked about this item in a very long time, but going into like a gun-heavy team. Same with the resistances. But I actually think my shout here is going to be for Majestic Leap. I'm covering it up with my big fat head, but basically you launch yourself in the air, you gain a barrier, 140 barrier for 8 seconds. You can do this every 30 seconds. This is my favorite dive tool in the game, and in particular on certain heroes, this item just feels incredibly valuable. You can just appear in the back line as Pocket or Warden or whoever you need to on this, and it always feels beneficial. My kind of second shout was going to be Rescue Beam or Warpstone. I think what the two of those items do are pretty dang incredible as well in terms of value, but I don't know, I just feel like for 3200, Majestic Leap is so slept on because it enables a completely different playstyle on a lot of heroes for 3.2k, which again is getting you to where you need to go for the, you know, flex playstyle, all that good stuff. So on a lot of different heroes, I feel like Majestic Leap is an item people could buy way more. Then our final Black Friday deal for the Vitality tab is actually going to be one of my favorite items. I'm just going to pick a favorite here because, you know, that's what we're doing. I'm going to go with Witchmail. I have always been such a big fan of this item. I think this is just a way underbought item, and it has been for a very long time. You get 20% spirit resist, 14 spirit power, and it's a way for you to cycle cooldowns by taking spirit damage. And actually, honestly, I'm just now kind of registering this. With every single piece of cooldown being nerfed in the latest patch, I feel like Witchmail stonks should be way, way up, right? Like, shouldn't they be? Because every form of cooldown reduction was hit, and it's way harder to cycle abilities. This is another way to do that. You get 4-second cooldown reduction per hit at 75 spirit damage. You got to imagine that's going to be proccing every time you take a hit in the late game, which at 6400, this is probably when you're going to have this item. You could rush it as a way of like skipping cooldown reductions with them being nerfed a little bit. You just get into Witchmail as fast as you can. You get the spirit resist, you get some spirit power. So like, it's just a very hardy investment at 6.4k. This one could have easily been the Mega Million deal for Vitality, but got to give it to Enduring Speed. But yeah, in any case, I'm a huge Witchmail fan. I think way more people should buy it, especially if you're a spirit character or just any character that wants to use cooldowns a lot more and you need a 6400 green item. I think this is an incredible choice. So yeah, Witchmail. That'll round out Vitality. Let's get into Spirit to close it out. All right, so getting started with our 800 cost Spirit items. Honestly, this section is one of probably my least favorite in the game in terms of value, because it feels like a lot of these don't have great uniform value, with the exception of one item, and that is actually going to be Extra Spirit. This feels like kind of a boring choice because it is literally just an item that gives you Spirit, but I feel like for just about any Spirit build, this could and probably should be your foundation for that build, because it's just flat useful all the time. Like, for example, if you go Extra Charge, that's giving you bonus ability charges for one specific thing, and same thing with Mystic Expansion, right? Like, these are usually just going to help out with one item, maybe two, or something with charge very rarely, but they're not uniformly benefiting your kit. Or Extra Spirit, anything you're doing dealing spirit damage is benefited by that, or anything that scales with spirit is benefiting by that. So it just feels like Extra Spirit, and even everything along this path, honestly, you know, Improved, Boundless, and Surge of Power, all good items. But in particular for me, if I just had to pick one 800 cost Spirit item for my Black Friday deal in Deadlock, it's 100% going to be Extra Spirit. All right, and for 1600, this is a section that I really do like. I feel like I am buying these items so much because I tend towards Spirit characters in this game. But I really feel like you cannot get away from the value that Cold Front provides. You get 6 Spirit Resist, and this is just one of those abilities that feels like it is core on so many characters for a reason. You don't even have to build Arctic Blast here, but the damage and movement slow you get and being able to do it every 25 seconds, this just feels like one of the easiest to use actives in the game. You just press it when you're close to people, and you get instant value out of it. You're slowing them for 4 seconds, and it's going to deal spirit damage, like I said. 12-meter radius is not the greatest thing in the world. You have to be pretty in close to do this, and the native stats are just kind of meh. But in general, I think this is probably my favorite item in this section. There's a lot. I mean, this is similar to the Vitality tab in this section, where 1600 just feels like there's a lot of value to be had. I mean, Suppressor is great. Mystic Slow is great. I mentioned Quicksilver. Bullet Resist Shredder is getting a lot more use lately, I think appropriately so. I mean, look at the stats you get from that, kind of crazy. And then Arcane Surge, always a good one too. So, I mean, this section just stacked, but if I had to pick one, Cold Front is absolutely my pick for the Black Friday deal and the 1600 cost there. But let's move into the last two sections of the Spirit to see what we get. All right, and in this section, at 3.2k, we have our last just mega Thanksgiving Black Friday Walmart trampling deal. I don't know why I keep bringing up the Walmart trampling. I don't know if that ages me or what, but that's just what I have associated my brain with Black Friday, so it is what it is. Anyway, it's Radiant Regeneration. I think this item is incredible. I try to buy this item as much as I possibly can. It is such an incredible way to get healing, to keep yourself up, and to be able to use your spirit very aggressively. So this prevents you from having to buy a lot of kind of other sustain items in the game. I don't feel like Mystic Regeneration is near as good, but once you get up to Radiant, and once you're healing when you cast an ability and gaining movement speed when you cast an ability, every 6 seconds, by the way, that is just an unbelievable value. I'm covering it up, but the base healing is 70 on that, and it's a 3-second duration of healing. This is just such a good item. It's arguably my favorite item in the game, and it also fits with a lot of the heroes that I like to play. But if you are someone who is doing a lot of ability use throughout the game, and you need ways to stay sustained, I think this is a way slept-on way of doing that, and is easily my Black Friday pick for 3,200 cost in the Spirit section. A lot of other good items here. Knockdown, crazy valuable. Decay, sneaky great item. I mean, Silence Wave, Cooldown, Tank Buster, Surge. Like, this section is stacked. This might be the most stacked section in terms of value in the game, just from my perspective, because what you get here are all, like, they're not necessarily build-defining things in a lot of ways, but a lot of times these can be the item that you win a fight with, that you buy and you immediately just see the crazy value of, right? This tier 3 of Spirit is probably my favorite section, but Radiant Regen takes the cake. Maybe my favorite item in Deadlock. All right, and the last one here, our last Black Friday deal, I feel like I have to give this one to Curse, especially because of the capacitor swap with Curse in terms of what it does. This now interrupts, silences, disarms, prevents item usage, and removes all non-ultimate buffs. This item does so much now, so much. And it's just a point-and-click cast. It's not like you have to hit a skill shot to cast this. And it gives you 15% weapon damage. You can do that once a minute, which you can reduce with Transcendent cooldown. And all the stuff that you're doing to folks lasts 3.25 seconds. And you get 20 meters of range to cast it. Like, what the heck? Why isn't everyone buying Curse right now? How is this item not just going to be totally destructive? When Rem comes out, the little guy that we've covered on the channel, who's a leaked, unreleased character, whenever he comes out, this is going to be like a giga must-buy on Rem, because he's going to be able to just sit on your back, curse someone, and no matter what character you are, you're probably just going to be able to go in and kill him. So this is such a cool item. It's so good. I think there's a ton of value there. This is actually one of the sections kind of in the very opposite end that I really don't like a lot of these items. Just personally, design-wise, I don't like some of them, but also I just don't find myself using a lot of these items. I feel like I have my few kind of safe picks that I go to a lot, and I don't really branch out. But like, I feel like, I don't know. I won't get into the specifics of this, but I feel like there's some items in this section that need some, I don't know. At least for me, I just don't feel the need for them a lot of the times. It feels like the higher tier Spirit items, there's a very select few that are meta, and the rest are just so tangential. So anyway, hope you had all enjoyed this video. I wanted to have fun with this one. Like I said, keeping the holiday gimmick just a little bit, and keep with doing the video a day for the week that I promised you all. I know there are a lot of leaks that we haven't covered yet that have been slowly trickling out, so stay tuned over the weekend. I'll try and get to those as fast as I can. But like I said, I wanted to keep in doing something else besides news for at least part of this week. A lot of it gets into just the overall kind of Thanksgiving and gratitude I have for you all as a community and for the channel and all that good stuff. But I also just want to remind people that we do way more than news here. I want there to be kind of a wider scope to this channel, and so videos like this, at least in my mind, help me to achieve that. So in any case, hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what your Black Friday picks are for each item section. I hope this was a fun little way to talk about value in game. I'm not trying to do this super patch specific. A lot of this is just like design-wise, based on these items, where am I seeing value just personally, kind of using my own brain and assessing these. So that's how I got to a lot of these. But in that same way, I'd be curious to hear what you all think. I would love to try some new items that you all are super passionate about. So let me know in the comments what those are. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and from our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.